Okay, this is a video with me, Daniel Eli, reincarnated a biblical prophet, an incarnate angel who's not deluded, who is the real deal with visible wings. I'm with Katherine here. We're discussing general topics. Right now it's about faith, and we move on from there. One of the things that the biblical prophets were famous for, like Daniel and his friends, like you remember the story of the fiery furnace, where they refused to bow down and worship idols, so they threw them into the fire, but then they were protected by an angel in the midst of the fire because of their faith in God. Would on a scale of 1 to 10, Katherine, 1 being zero faith, 10 being the faith of Christ, where would you place yourself most of the time on a number scale of 1 to 10?
That's just it. I have 100% faith, but I don't know where my faith is in Christ. I know where my faith is in God. Do I know if they're one of the same? I don't know. And I guess maybe that's why this person who is part of the Catholic Church is coming into my life. Maybe I need to figure that out. Maybe it's time for me to figure that out. I always, I find myself saying, Jesus, I want to know who you are. Well, maybe that's my time. Maybe I'm supposed to figure that out. Maybe, God is saying, okay, I'm showing, seek and you shall find. So maybe I'm going to go through many different experiences, and maybe I have to talk. Maybe it's really time to start talking about my experiences. And I consider myself a very well-rounded person and a very grounded person for the most part. I'm very careful who I have these discussions with, and I'm sure you understand, because not everybody you can have these discussions with. I'm not judging you any more than you're judging me. We have very real things that have happened to us, and we can't explain them really. Sometimes after my experience I had with the negative energies, that God just kind of took me aside personally and said, I want to work with you, Chickie Poo, and kind of took me into a corner and was working with me personally, and I started developing my with God. And that's why my faith is so strong, because I feel like I've been working with God personally, and I know that sounds arrogant, but I believe God is there with us all, especially if we're seeking Him. And I think all of our experiences that lead us to God are going to be very unique. And I think what is so special, or what's precious, is the whole fact, as I said to my Catholic friend, my experiences are precious. And I have such a strong faith with God because I wanted to know personally who God was. Between God and I, whoever God is to me, the whole fact that on an intimate level, that's so meaningful to me. I didn't have anyone have to tell me, you need to do this, you need to do that. I just said, hey God, I want to know you. And this is how God started presenting Himself to me in my life, because it was in a time of dire need.
Yeah, what's the definition of faith? Do you remember that quote? Do you know the quote, not passage number or anything?
It's know the definition of faith.
Yeah, it's the hope of things, of the unseen, the hope of things to come, something to that effect.
Funny, I named my daughter Hope.
And that's what angels have to give people, right? Hope for the future.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And I sometimes have friends, I had a woman call me yesterday, Daniel. I did a read on her last week, and she called me yesterday just crying, just totally weeping, and I knew she needed to be heard, and she thought she was being a bother to me, but she just needed someone to talk to, someone to confide in, and I guess she felt like when she was in my presence, she felt like she wasn't being judged, and she said many different psychics that she's been to actually made her feel like they were judging her. And she said she said to her that my voice was very calming, very soothing to her, and I talked to her without judgment, and she said she really needed that. She needed to feel like, God's presence was with her, and that, things were being channeled through that needed to be channeled through, and she just really felt like, the guidance was there, and really not telling her what to do, but maybe, advising her. And I find so much of the information that comes through, Daniel, seems to be that God is guiding them to themselves. God is guiding them to their faith, and to who they are with God and with their faith. I think trust them. Oh, that phone again.
Hi, Danielle. Hi, Katherine.
Hi, Busy Bee.
Hello, Busy Bees. I'm going to end this video here with that on faith. Okay, that's a short video on faith, and here we go. Thank you all for listening, and check out my other YouTube videos, and of course End Time Prophet 2012, and finalbookofdaniel.com, and worldpeaceprayervision.org. Over and out.